Pleasant good day and welcome to Old Talk. This episode we're going to be looking at the budget for the coming year. What you're looking at here on the screen is the official PDF document from the Ministry of Finance. We're going to take a look at where the money going and where the money not going. So with the budget that the Ministry of Finance set, the first question you have to ask yourself is, what is this money and where it come from? So the money itself, by and large, is the taxes that were collected from the workers of Trinidad and Tobago during the financial year of 2022, which began in April 2021 and ended in April 2022. This tax revenue is put as well with loans. So if the government has a shortfall or not enough taxes collected from the citizens to finance all their projects, they take a loan from the central bank. So what we see here in this introduction statement is essentially the big numbers. Now what makes Trinidad and Tobago special is the fact that we are oil producing nation. We have them reserves of oil offshore where they'll be drilling and pumping out oil. And that helps us a lot when it comes to financial spending. With the oil revenues, we always have to take into consideration the fact that the price of oil has changed. So what they're pointing out here is between 2011 and 2014, there was a loss of money because of the fluctuation in the oil price, and similar from 2010 to 2015. Now, even though there was a change in the oil price that worked against we still continue to spend the same amount of money. And that's the thing I had never understood as a child. You see, when you're in primary school, you learn what a budget is. That you're supposed to take your money and set aside money for certain things. And if you don't have enough money for everything you want to do, you gotta sacrifice. But what we see with the government is they don't sacrifice. They just go into deficit spending. So that means they're spending money that we don't have. And that is a thing I had never understand, even as a child watching the news, why it is these grown-ups going on the television to say, hey, we have this deficit, but we still spending the money we don't have anyway. That never make no sense. On the next page here, we see that the experts say the biggest problem with Trinidad and Tobago is our public debt and debt profile. That means that we have too much debt. We spend too much money we never had. And that puts the country in a very bad position for investors and outside money to look and say, hey, we want to invest in Trinidad because Trinidad have a habit of spending money they don't have. Now here's something that we all knew, that for the last 50 years, more or less, most of the money we're generating as a country is from oil and gas. And when the cost of a barrel of oil goes down, the Trinidad economy goes with it. And unfortunately, many of these governments never took any kind of measures to adjust their spending so as to not put us in a deficit, but rather they continued to spend the money even though it was not there. Now, during 2020, when COVID had hit, that had caused a serious problem with oil and gas because everybody was told to stay home and businesses were forced to close. That means that there was less demand for gas. And when you have less demand for gas, that means you can't sell it. And when you can't sell it, the price going down. So Trinidad had a massive hit to our economy, just like everywhere else in the world, but especially for us where plenty of the money is oil related. And when the budget for 2020 was announced in September 2019, the budget was calculated with a gas price of over $50 US. So when it fell to $50 US during 2020, that means that all that revenue was lost, but spending remained the same. The next thing we're going to discuss is the property tax. Now, like many of you, I grew up and my family was for one party in Trinidad and Tobago. it was P&M. So I grew up in a P&M household. But as I became an adult and I started to hear them talk about property tax, I say, nah, not me and that. Me, I want to pay no money for something I already own. That is when the P&M lost my support and lost my vote. I never vote for P&M again in my life. A property tax is essentially taxing you on something you already own. So it's like you're renting it. It's like you went to courts, you buy a TV, and then courts telling you that every year you have to pay a fee for owning the TV. You already pay cash for the full TV yourself, but now every year you have to pay additional fees because you own the TV. So you buy a house for 1 million, 2 million, and every year the government say, hey, you own a house. You buy the house already, it's in your possession under your name, you have to pay away money because you own that. Now, a property tax can be a good thing, but it has to be controlled at a local level. So if your community come together and say, hey, we want to institute a property tax and we're going to use that money to make the environment more pretty, to fix the roads, to help our neighbors. That is what a property tax is for. But if you give a property tax to the government, you're not going to be able to see where that money actually is spending. That is just another revenue stream for them to abuse. Here we see the old prices of fuel from the last time they raised it, with premium at $5.75, super at $4.97, and diesel at $3.41. Here they're talking about cashless transactions. Now, a cashless transaction we have already with links, with credit card, and online banking. But what they want to do in Trinidad and Tobago is make a digital currency. Now, a digital currency is a very dangerous thing, I had to tell you. If the P&M decide one day, hey, all UNC people, all your money in the bank, all you have no access to it, they could do that. That may be an extreme example, but that gives you an idea of what's happening if everyone is forced into a system with electronic money that is controlled by the government. If you go out and protest and they see you protesting, they could say, hey, he protesting, let me lock up your bank account. So you can't buy bread, you can't buy KFC, you can't pay your rent, you can't go to work because the government decide, hey, you are persona non grata, we go in and stop you from being able to live until you stop protesting and live life the way we want you to live. This gives absolute control to the government and non-elected bureaucrats, and that is a nightmare scenario. It's already real difficult in Trinidad to open a bank account. You have to go in with 2 forms of identification, 2 utility bill, 2 references, all this kind of shipping is in. The rest of the world, you could open a bank account with 1 form of identification. And now they're trying to jump the gun. Instead of improving banking services, going straight to e-money, skipping all the things that would improve people's lives in order to get control. And that is the next thing. Ask anybody in Trinidad when they had to do something with the bank, how long the bank line is. Oh God, man. It's 2022. You telling me we can't do all these things with an online app? With an app on your phone that you could transfer between bank to bank or international? No. You had to go to the bank, you had to talk to the teller, you had to give them an explanation why I need the international currency, why I had to transfer the currency abroad. It is totally inept. It is totally backwards. We have so far to go when it comes to normal banking, and they want to talk about cashless transactions and digital currency. That matter what. Here we have public sector wage negotiations. Typical thing, they want more money, nothing new. But when you go to the counter to ask for some kind of service, for a birth certificate, for a passport, you gotta wait days. Now they just print the electronic birth certificate on the spot. But for a passport, you still have to wait 2 weeks. You have to wait 3 months to get an appointment. And when you go for the appointment at the appointed time, it's the same thing. Whoever come there first on the day. Stupidness. Here we have infrastructure, and they're talking about extending the Solomon Hochoy Highway. That's nice. Another highway extension for Churchill, Roosevelt, Manzanilla. Things we should have done years ago. The Valencia to Toku road. Oh gosh, don't get me started about that road. You can't drive nothing on that road without problems. Infrastructure is things everybody like and is joy. But the fact that we had to pay how many millions of dollars for a car park in Maracas, that really indicates a lot of bubble going on. Now, Diego Martin getting a pedestrian bridge. The Tobago Airport getting a terminal. Some fishing in Maruga. Waterfront development at San Fernando. We all know the wharf is nothing pretty to look at. Coastal protection system. Coastal protection from what? Coastal erosion and coastal flooding. Oh, it should have been built properly the first time. Commercial and residential squatters being relocated from redevelopment with a settlement plan in Udicott, 43 million. Where that money coming from? The taxpayer. To relocate people who squatting. Very nice. Here we have agriculture. Now, agriculture has been something that everybody in Trinidad and Tobago has been talking about for a long time. Why we don't produce more food? Why they close down the orange grove? Why they close down the sugarcane factory? Now, these things were businesses, as usual, state-owned businesses that weren't turning a profit, so they were the easiest to axe. But if you had put in place a private sector and allow people to develop the land and then set their own wages and their own production, then we could have had our own agriculture. But the fact that the government had to stick its hand in every pot means that you get in bad management whose friends and family are members of the government. You have the Caroni Cane Farm Workers Association, the trade union, has also lobbying for more money, same as teachers, and that ran the company into the ground because they couldn't pay the wages of the people and then make a profit at the same time. Now, this is the one that really has opened my eye. 5 billion in food imports every year. 5 billion. 1 billion is 1,000 million. 5 billion is 5,000 million. $5,000 million every year to buy what? Grapes, strawberries, blueberries, all these food from the United States and other countries. Why do we spend so much money to import food? Why is it not a goal to have food security and food production locally as a goal? I'm sure there are reasons for that, but the fact that we're not even trying and that we are completely dependent on other countries for things like chicken feed is a big problem. The fact that National Flour Mills has to import our grain from foreign to make bread here in Trinidad and Tobago means that they are subject to price increases in foreign lands and they just pass that cost on to us. This is a real madness. Now, manufacturing is something we do in Trinidad. We do make products, but how good are the exports? The Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, they try to do some good work. They try to get more Trini products out there. You could find caravan thing across in Barbados, St. Vincent, even in Miami. But for manufacturing to really be profitable, you should be able to make a profit without a subsidy or thing from the government. All the government should be doing is reducing taxes on these companies to allow them to grow. Because when you have business, it's either you have a profit model or a growth model. And it seems because the government taxes us so heavily, we have no real growth model. It's very little growth. Here we have SMEs, so they get some ease up when it comes to starting up a business. That's nice. Honestly, if you had less taxes being imposed on them or no taxes at all, they could probably have a lot more SMEs. Unfortunately, many SMEs fail, but if you have the ability to create a business and not be taxed, you definitely have an advantage getting your company to grow. Tourism and cultural industries, my lord. How long have we known that in Trinidad nobody really coming here other than for carnival? If you want to go to a nice beach, you gotta go to Tobago. If they really wanted more tourism, just look at the east of the country. Look at that Manzanilla line all the way up to Sangre Grande. You could put a whole set of hotels there. The beach is massive. The opportunity to create industry there is massive, but for now it's just a plot of land. It's just a long stretch of highway down from the south to the north. Health, well, yeah, after COVID-19, then people deserve their money. So I hope they're getting paid and I hope they're not getting stressed out by the government and the rules. Housing, now, housing is a complete disaster in my opinion in Trinidad and Tobago because when you're looking at getting a nice apartment, it's starting at $8,000 a month. Now, the average salary for somebody who now starting a job in Trinidad and Tobago is 3,600 TT dollars. 3,600, and the starting price of a nice apartment is 8,000 and up. So these people who now starting, people who now get the degree, now come out of secondary school and they have a job, they can't get no kind of housing. For a long, long time, you had to live with your parents, or you had to talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend and organize to pay together to rent. And rent money is dead money. So who these people really have a target as a market? If you're charging $8,000 a month, only oil field workers and people who work in Schlumberger could afford them kind of thing, or government ministers. But the average person, they cannot afford $8,000 a month just for rent. You still have to get food, you still have fuel, and hopefully a little bit of entertainment. But with the pricing of the houses and the rent industry in Trinidad and Tobago is utter madness. And that is made worse from the fact that the HDC makes these houses and gives them to people who don't even pay the rent, who don't even pay the mortgage on the home they get in. So the HDC is another catastrophic organization that builds houses and gives them to people who don't pay for it, that own contractors, and the contractors, of course, because they know the HDC is government, that the money guaranteed, going to raise their prices. It's not going to be competitive. Now, if a bank was to go and make a housing development, then the bank is going to really try to bargain with the contractors. Bargain with the contractors to get the best price, to have efficiency, to have quality. But when it's government, it have no kind of efficiency or quality checks. It's just guaranteed money, so they're going to jack up the price rather than charge the market price to build these houses. Education. Well, Lord help us. After putting people through hell with COVID, forcing children to stay home, to not have their education, and then when they fail any secondary entrance exam, teachers calling for more money. More money after having poor results. After having these teachers staying home and getting paid while doing nothing. But they was enjoying it. And the children was the one who was suffering. And we see with COVID, yeah, plenty bad things happen and a lot of development was lost that will probably never come back. So you have to work harder now with these children to make up the space that can be made up. Safety and security, the Ministry of National Security. What do they protect us from? What is their purpose? Because the drugs still coming in, the guns still coming in, Venezuela is still coming across the border, the Coast Guard is a sham. The Coast Guard men are usually told, hey, let this boat come through, don't let that boat come through. Our national security is a joke. Why does this ministry even exist? The Service Commission is the one who handles the payment of government workers. So why you need a national security? What are they protecting us from? Who will invade us? Barbados? Grenada? Come now, man. Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs, another waste of time. Water resources, well boy. WASA, state-owned water production and distribution company. Total disaster. 2022 and not everybody in the country have water. 2022 and you still have all these old pipes running in the middle of the road that constantly breaking and have to be dug up, repaired, and then the road repaved, which causes it to break again. Total stupidity with WASA. Okay, so we have Tobago and they get their money for the THA so they could see about their own business. 50 million for the hospitality and tourism sector. But who is that 50 million really going to? Because if the government say they owning and operating hotels that not functioning, that need to be repaired, that need to be serviced, then that money is just going back to themselves. 30 million for farmland development. Well, yes, farmland development. Who owns the farms? Is it 15 million for Keith and his goat farm? How is this being distributed fairly and equally? 50 million for Tobago hotel industry for a financial grant to support the maintenance and upgrades. Yeah, more money. No transparency. 4 million tourism COVID relief. Oh, so some of that money going to the men who operate the boats and them? Using taxpayer money to finance people who lost because of your lockdowns. So again, you're draining the treasury, you're draining the source of the revenue to use and support individual businesses that you caused to suffer and lose money. Okay, so the estimates of revenue and expenditure for 2022 to 2023. This is where the money going towards. So most of the time they were budgeting for $100 barrel of oil. It's going to be $92.50, I believe. Around now is somewhere in the 80s, so that has to go up significantly. And OPEC just agreed to cut production by 2 million barrels of oil a day. So that should send back up the price to around $90.95 per barrel of oil. So this estimate isn't too bad, but will it stay that way for the coming year? Is there going to be another pandemic? Are we going to be forced to stay home and the price of oil to go down? We don't know. Education and training, 7 billion. Health, 6 billion. National security. Why do we have this ministry? Why does this ministry need so much money? Social grants, yeah, money being given away. Works and transport, look how little for infrastructure, look how little. Public utilities, little bit of money. Rural development and local government. Where is this money going? For the garbage collectors, for the cutting of football stadiums? Why does this require so much money? Agriculture, pittance, housing, very low. I guess they don't have many plans for housing in the coming year. Personal tax allowance limits is being increased. People making this amount of money don't have to pay income tax. Yeah, very nice. That working for the poor man a little bit. Manufacturers getting a tax credit. That's nice. Investments tax credits. Okay. Supplemental petroleum tax. So originally this petroleum tax was 40% for gas producers. So if they lowering it, that's a nice one. Petroleum profit tax. Yeah, look at it. 35% down to 30%. They're trying to ease them up to encourage them to keep producing because it was a hard 2 years with COVID, boy. Looking to investment in renewable energy with VAT discounts. Yeah, renewables not doing so well in the world, but alright. Some tax amnesty coming up from November to February, so make sure and file your taxes, people. And some changes to the Sea Bridge. I heard some people were pretty outraged from this, that over 60s now have to pay to go on the Sea Bridge. Well, they were getting it for free for a while. $75 to wait 5 to 6, 7 hours to go from Port of Spain to Tobago on an old rickety ship. Now, the ship definitely needs better maintenance, but I don't think this is going towards that. That's just profit for them. And here we have the new prices. Premium gasoline $7.75, super $6.97, diesel increase from 3 something to 4.41, and this small diesel increase will affect the normal person. It will affect everything. It will affect all industries, all food, because these things need to be transported across the country. This increase going on out for sure. And that is that, a short overview of the budget 2023. Let us know in the comments down below what you found the budget to be. What were the good points? What were the bad points? What were the ugly points? Thank you for tuning in to Old Talk. Take it easy.